Hi, welcome back. We're going to do our second one of these compression lectures. So the last time what we did was we had these two overhead tracks of drums, left and right, and we really compressed them. We really compressed them almost a ridiculous amount, but it makes them sound more exciting. Once again, all of these tracks I'm getting for these demos are here. I would recommend that you download these tracks and do the same thing that I'm doing with them in Pro Tools. Just copy what I did. That's the best way to learn in general, is to copy what other people do so you can understand it. So I'd like you, I'm not requiring it, but I'm telling you right now, do this. Do what I'm doing, okay? Go get these files. They're on the course site. Download them and install them. He's a great drummer. These are fun tracks to mess around with, and this will give you a good idea of what's going on here. So I compress these. If you want a review of the parameters and all this stuff of compression, go check that out. But those are compressed. And then I've got these close mics. There's my kick drum, my two snares. So we got an interesting kind of slammed out rock sound there. That might be a little, once again, I'm getting a little carried away with the compression, but that's all right. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about another, I guess, form of compression. And this is this idea of side chaining and ducking. So what I can do is I can create a way, I can use the compressor to automatically turn the volume down on a track. And what this does, this is called ducking. And what this does is it allows tracks to get out of each other's way in the mix. This is a hallmark of EDM music, actually, although everyone uses this stuff. But you have that kick come in, and the whole rest of the music kind of ducks down for a minute and then comes back up. It makes the music sound more, I don't know if three-dimensional is the right word when you're talking about music, but it gives it a more interesting, more dynamic feel to it. So what I'm going to do, see, I've got all these soloed. I don't really need to do that, do I? What I'm going to do is take my overheads, these two overheads, and I'm going to make it so every time the snare drum comes in, they're going to bump down just a little bit. And then as soon as the snare drum is done, they're going to pump back up. So I'll have this kind of fluctuating or pumping feel. Let's start with just one. So this is already compressed. I'm not going to touch this compressor. I've already got the sound that I want for this track. Let's mute everything. Let's do it in mute. Let's do it the mute way. Let's mute everything but this snare track. So I'm going to use this snare track to control the volume of this track. Here's just those two. It'll just be in the left speaker, the overhead. All right. Let's turn that up a little bit so you can hear a little better. All right. Hopefully that's loud enough. All right, so here's where the side chain comes in. This is going to be one of the big things that we learn in this class. And that's this idea of side chaining, okay? Using a mixer creatively is a great sign of competence in the studio, okay? Plus you get all these great things you can do once you learn how to do this with competence. So I'm going to go over here to my sends. Once again, if you don't have this set up, you can use your mixer, or you can use this little white icon here and click on that and pick different things you want. I review that a little more in depth in the previous video, so you can watch that if you want. It's up to you. Anyways, so I'm going to send this top, my snare top, I'm going to send that to a bus. I'm going to bus that out, and I'm just going to do bus 1. And you can see I get this channel strip here. So what this is like an extra, it's like I made a new road or street or a channel that this track is going to go to. We'll still hear it. It's still going to go to the mains. But now it's also going to go to this bus. So it's a new channel that this is running through. I'm going to turn the volume up on that. And you can see when I play, you can see there's that snare track going into this bus. And I can make it go through with more level or less level. All kinds of neat stuff. all kinds of neat stuff you can do with busing. Okay, so now here's where it gets interesting. I have, all right, so this is my track. I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to use another compressor on this, but I'm going to do something different. I'm going to run a side chain into this one. So right here where it says no key input, I'm going to say, hey, I want you to compress based on the input coming from bus 1, so the snare drum. Okay, so now the snare drum is going to be used to activate this compressor. Okay, now the next thing, and this is really important, over here where it says side chain, here's that little key symbol. Okay, so please watch this a couple times if you don't know what I'm doing. All right, right here where it says the default is no key input. We want to set it to whatever bus we bust our snare drum or our sound to. So that's bus 1. And over here we're doing side chain. So I'm turning that on. I'm saying, hey. Now we're going to turn this on. And every time this snare drum crosses the threshold, it's going to turn the volume down, essentially, on my overhead track. So let's see what that sounds like. Not noticing it much, but watch, let's turn this down more. All right, now in this situation, you can really, I can hear it. You know, I think you're gonna need headphones probably to check this out, but let's make it more pronounced. Let's make it so that the release time is really long, meaning it takes longer for the volume of this track to come back up after the snare hits, okay? Watch this. There, if I set it really long like that, you can see it's taking this track longer to recover in volume. You can hear how it's pushing it down. Now I've got that attack pretty quick. We can make it even quicker. Actually, no, I kind of like it where it was. Watch, listen to what happens now as I make this release. You can hear that, it's subtle, but you can hear that coming back up. All right, cool. So the next thing to do would be to apply this to the left and right overhead tracks. So I'm going to unmute this, and does anyone remember? I can just copy all the settings and everything on this, my ducking track, my ducking plugin rather. I'm going to hold down the Option key and drag down, and look at that. Boom, it's right there. So now we got both of them. Look at that, it's got all the same settings. So now listen. So you can hear that the overhead tracks are coming back in. And then, you know, we can add that to our overall mix. Neat. I can go back and I can set it so it takes it longer for it to recover. I mean, you would never do this, but you can hear how it takes a little longer for it to come back up. Wow, that's pretty intense. There we go. All right, so that's ducking. Let's try one more example of it. Let's use the bass drum to do this. This will be fun. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I went and I grabbed off of the course side. I've got this drone down here that I created, Emperor of Light. There's just the drone. And once again, you guys can use these tracks. There's nothing wrong with using these tracks that I've created to explore these concepts. It's all set up for you. These are raw studio tracks. They're unmixed. So they're really great. They're great examples to work with because you can do so much stuff to them. So yeah, I went and I grabbed that drone. I dragged it in here. Now, I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to revisit gating. Okay, I'm going to do a whole bunch of neat stuff. Hopefully you think it's neat. So let's solo my kick drum track. So there's my kick drum track, and I want to make it, because I want to control that drone, I want to make that duck out whenever the kick drum comes in. But you can hear in this track, I'm not hearing just a kick drum, am I? I'm hearing some of the snare as well. So here, let's fix that. Does anyone remember how we fixed that? I know, Dr. McDonald, it's a gate, right? Yes, it is a gate. I'm sorry, that would have been me talking. That wasn't me doing my impersonation of you. Yeah, so where is it? Where are you, gate? All right, so I'm going to make the gate, and that's only going to allow the kick drum through if I lower the threshold enough. So check this out. Now, once again, there we go. Lower the attack to get more of that. I guess I could. Oh, that's too much. Let's turn it up a little more. Okay. Obviously, you know, I could keep tweaking this to get it perfect, but now you can hear that bass drum coming in. Not bad. I'll take it for now. Okay, so now this is where it gets interesting. We're going to take this kick sound and we're going to send it. So we've already used bus 1, I think, right? So let's use, that's a stereo. Let's just do stereo. That's fine. So now I'm busing to a stereo track. Here's my bus fader. I've turned that up. Now let's turn my drone on. Okay, so now we're going to use the kick drum, just the kick drum, because I've gated out the snare hits, and I'm going to use those kick drum hits to duck the drone out. So the drone's going to duck out a little bit. So the drone's going to pump up and down, as it were. So here we go. There's that. All right, you ready? Here we go. Key input. Remember, it's just, oh, it's mono. That's right. Okay, so let's make sure. No insert. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Dynamics. Compressor. So we'll do bus, let's just do bus 3, and then we're gonna key. Alright, you guys should hear a difference there. So you can hear every time that kick drum comes in, the drone's gonna duck out a little bit. Kind of neat. Let's bring all the tracks in. It's a little crazy. That's actually a little that's a little more confusing than I thought, but sounds neat. It's definitely, so we're ducking out the overheads every time the snare drum comes in, and then we're ducking out the drone every time we're ducking out the drone every time the kick drum comes in. So that's actually a pretty wild sound. I don't know if that quite, I might have to tweak that a little bit more. But you can see what we're doing here. It's pretty neat. I don't know, that's pretty cool. I would want to tweak that a little bit, but that's the effect that we're going for, um, as far as getting the volume of one track to go down when a control track kind of kicks in. And that's what you're going to be doing with Project 3. You're not going to be doing slamming beats and drones. Sorry. But you are going to be doing a radio spot where ducking is used a lot in radio broadcasting, where you have somebody speaking but you have music in the background. Historically, that was just done by engineers who would know to turn the music down when the speaker would come in with their copy that she was supposed to read, um, and then ultimately the idea was, let's use the speaking part. Every time that person is speaking, it'll duck down the backing music tracks a little bit. So that's how to do it. That's how to do that side chain. Um, if you're still not sure on how to do this, rewatch this movie where I go through how to do it. Feel free to email me. Um, I do have a document somewhere that takes you step by step through how to do this. But this is side chaining, and you're using it to duck. So to review, once again, let's just review with this snare drum. I bust the snare out, so I chose bus 1. I had a fader come up. I had to turn the level up on that fader, otherwise no signal was going through. And then the track that I wanted to duck, I chose that track, and I put a compression plug in here, and then I keyed that in. Okay, so I want bus 1 to trigger this compressor. And then once again, you have to click on this. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's say you have a whole bunch of different audio tracks that you want to duck. So that's a good case with this here. Let's do something real quick. I'll show you, because this is what you're going to need to do if you want to turn all of your audio down. You could certainly put a compressor on each track, but another thing you could do, let's take these off. Another thing you could do would be to bus everything to an aux track. Okay, so you'd create a new aux track, and then you would you'd use that insert. I will cover that in another movie shortly. But see if you can figure out how to do that. It's creating a track, new aux stereo. So you'd have this new track here, and then you would actually take the input from one of these buses. Let's see, did I do 3, 4 there? So here, well, I'll just do it now. Let's just show you now. Okay, so then I could bus this to, let's do 5 and 6. And then I want to mix this in there. This is going to go to 5 and 6 as well. Sweet. Now look. Well, let's turn the volume up on that. And we're going to get more involved in this as the course moves on. So now I'm going to take an input from. So watch this. I'm excited. Whoops, let's solo these. So this is my track here, and then watch. What was that, plus 1? Alright, so lots of stuff there, lots of information there. Easiest way would just be to go through each track and just copy this compressor there. But if you want to kind of work ahead a little bit, create a new track and bus everything to that. Okay? Alright, it's a lot of information. Take your time, kind of work through this video. and let's see how we do. All right, guys. Good luck, and keep in touch. All right. Thanks.